Welcome back to Debunking Myths, brought to you in association with Serenity, a beacon in the fog of mental health myths. I'm your host Kaushni, and today we're diving into the tangled world of stress and the various myths that too many of our youths grapple with. Joining us is a voice of the new generation, a passionate blogger who turned his hobby into a powerful platform in 2021, sparking crucial conversations about adolescents' mental health. With his fresh ideas and bold approach, he's here to guide us through distinguishing facts from fiction. Get ready to challenge what you think now, debunk the myths, and discover the truth about stress and mental health with our star guest, Malachi. Hello, Malachi. How are you doing today?
I'm so great. And you, how are you doing that side?
I'm doing really good. So, before we go into the questions, you just want to give a short, brief background about yourself, your Instagram or how you operate?
Alright, so I'm Infinitely Malachi. So I started the whole brand and the whole idea in 2021 during the pandemic. It was so stressful for a lot of people, especially in my community. I could see people weren't really engaged, they weren't excited, they weren't having the conversations that they used to have, they weren't active. So I wanted to create a platform where people could discuss the same conversations, they could have the same conversations, but online, right, on the new world that we had been created by COVID-19. So after that, even after the pandemic ended, I still felt the ideas and what Infinitely Malachi had to offer had also diverted. I feel like we've actually moved to not just catering for the pandemic, but also catering for the ideas of mental health.
That's actually really great to hear about how you started your blog and what you're doing. So transitioning into our first question, actually you kind of answered half of it. What inspired you to become a mental health activist like you are today? Particularly focusing on advocating for mental wellness within the African community, as you just said, you are based out of there. So, what was that one point that inspired you?
To be honest, I think it was the whole stigmatization and how people are constantly thinking it's something that's not important. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that people from my community, even till today, right, mm-hmm. They still have these ideas of when you tell them about a mental illness, they think it's either something like dementia or it's something like you're crazy, you understand? So those are the things that you start getting.
I agree with you, yeah.
Yes, so people will be no, he's crazy. Depression is isn't a disease. Mm-hmm. It's just how you are, right? It's people aren't really educated on their mental health, mm-hmm. and they don't understand that it's the core of your well-being. It's something that's very, very important for you to thrive and do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. I feel the more we could understand as individuals, this will not only increase our abilities as individuals, we become better humans. It becomes easier to learn new things. It becomes easier to work and be productive in whatever that we are indulging in. So for me, that was the main inspiration, and also understanding that people experience lots and lots of loneliness, mm-hmm. especially during the pandemic. So I wanted to make conversations so that we could talk about the things that were on our minds and the things that we're constantly thinking about. I think it's just about having one person raise a topic and then everyone else starts discussing it too. Because that was the main idea.
I actually quite agree with you when you talk about people perceiving mental health as a disease or dementia, because the background and the culture I live in, we live in India, right? India is a really fast-forward country. It has developed in recent years, but there are still many parts of India, and I would say a lot of us have that thing in the back of mind, mental health, depression, that is something we don't talk about. So I think the same problem you just described, I think that's not something just that's within the African community, but I feel it's here as well in India. Yeah, I feel mental health is tabooed a lot. And I feel like it's a topic, personally speaking, it should not be a topic that should be tabooed. And I think I hope you feel the same as well.
Even
So, yeah.
like even if you like even look at the suicide rates, right? That is like one of last time I checked while I was watching this documentary, it said that it was like the second leading cause of death. So many people were dying because of that. And you'd see like while I was doing my project for Rise, right? While I was doing my research, I found out that in Japan, right? So many students commit suicide just before the school year starts, right? And academic is one of the big things that contributes as a factor for unwellness in terms of mental well-being.
I agree with you. I think like what the problem with mental health is, the taboo and the destigmatization that created around this two words. This is the cause to why people, I think, maybe commit suicide, because in their head somewhere they also think like, oh my god, if I'm battling with some problem like say depression or anxiety or stress, like I cannot talk about this because in my community people like boo down on this. And yeah, like I mean, this is a very, very big problem the entire world faces. And I feel like the generation that we are, I think we're the generation that can maybe create this, topic, something that's, really spoken about and not as hidden. Okay, so going on to my next question to you is that you've talked a lot about mental health and how your community or the world faces it. Now, drawing from your own experiences, what advice would you offer to young individuals like ourselves, particularly students who find themselves grappling with stress and academic burnout?
All right. I can tell you, first of all, the first thing that people should understand is that academic burnout is real. And I can also tell you, speaking from a perspective that I am good in academics, right? I'm good in school. Yes, I did. I'm a student that drives to get good grades and and passes very well in his classes. But then you can get to a point where you're not really interested. Like you feel detached, and it becomes so difficult to do the homework, to do the assignments. It becomes so overwhelming. I can literally tell you one of the hardest decisions I had to make this year was to decide which subjects I was taking. And when I was deciding, it was very difficult because I dropped a subject that I was literally so good at, right? And so many people were confused. People didn't get like, oh, Malachi, why would you drop the subject? Why would you drop a subject that you're so good at? Because I had won prizes for being good in that subject. But then what people don't understand, right, is that when you're not like right, and capable of doing that subject, it becomes way more stressful in terms of doing it, right? I feel like school gravitates a lot of our mental well-being, right? It gravitates a lot of our well-being as students because we literally revolve around school. Like we go to school in the morning, we come back home, we do homework. So it's our lives literally about school, right? Until perhaps you're done with your first degree, maybe at 25 or something, right? So your life will constantly be about school and education. So if we don't learn to make it possibly easier for us to be more productive, right? It becomes way more difficult and require way more effort. And that's why many students consider quitting, they consider dropping out, right? And people call those people weak and shun them even more, and they have even more mental health problems after that because school plays a very big role, right? So I think besides the bullying, besides the social life, academics academics alone play a very big role. So I think what students can do, what I wanted to do and what I am doing, through on my blog, I created a platform called the Study Manual. So this is where I help students and teach them how to study more effectively. I feel like if we're capable of studying and understanding, okay, how do I learn more effectively? How do I grasp information more effectively, right? So you'll be less stressed about the grades. You'll be less stressed about putting constant effort, because you end up studying 10 hours a day, or you study 12 hours a day because you have exams, instead of you studying with effective methods during those 2 hours or 3 hours that you have on a daily basis. So I created a platform where students can learn how to, through blog articles, how to study more effectively, what methods that they can learn more effectively, right? Because I feel like that's very important, because many students, especially from my school and my community, I could see that they didn't really understand which techniques to use. They didn't really know, okay, how do I study? And them not knowing that, right, led to them not getting the desired grades, and also them being stressed. Right?
I feel like
because parents,
this point is something I personally, from my personal experience, agree on. Not
Yes.
knowing the correct study methods does get you into a lot of stress. Actually, it's really ironic, but today we had a test and I did not know where to properly study from. The test went really well. Besides that, but like the amount of stress I had the entire day leading up to that test was horrific. Because in the back of the mind, I was present in the class, but in the back of my mind, I was like, oh my god, will I score good or not? You know, what will happen if my predicted grade doesn't go? I need to go to college. And
Exactly.
and once you have so many ideas flowing in, and you're like, chill, it's just a test. You know the subject.
Yes.
When you come to that point, like I 100% agree with you. And you're
Yes, like the lifeline of a student is literally about grades.
Exactly.
No matter the extracurriculars, no matter the social life, that all doesn't matter to society and to your parents. So your whole lifeline is about those grades, and it feels so difficult.
You could be like a businesswoman who's got into Forbes 30 under 30 in high school. No one cares.
Yes.
But like, what were your grades?
No.
Did you get all A's or did you get all B's? Oh, you got all B's and you got into Forbes. You got all A's and you got in Forbes. You know, congratulations. So yeah, I get that from you. Like, I understand where you're coming from, and especially like the academic burnout point. I agree. One of the main reasons the five of us started Serenity was due to academic burnout during our IGCSEs, because we were so stressed all the time. Because we had like 5 to 4 boards per month, and these boards, like you're giving the IGCSE, so you know, like chemistry, they have three papers, and they don't have much time in between. So like I gave like physics, chem, and CS, and in 1 week, 3 days simultaneously. So I was stressed as hell, like, you know, I never got like a breather. So I think due to academic burnout, the five of us, we came together to create Serenity, to kind of help other students to not go through the same thing, and to, like, if they are, like, you know, to calm them down. Because yeah, as you said, you're like a honor student.
Plus, like, in the world, you realize that the world that we live in is so exciting, because there's so much new research about education, about how we can learn better. So if we can like harness these strategies and allow these things to help us, right? Because some people just don't know, not because they're ignorant, but because they just don't have access to it. So if we try to make it accessible, it will help so many people, and we will reduce the amount of suicides, will reduce the amount of mental illness that the youth is going.
Yeah, that's exactly what we here at Serenity are trying to do. We're trying to make something that's targeted to teens, because teens are people, like, we are teens, right? You and me. We are some people, like, we won't have access to certain things, and even say you and I do, a lot of maybe like our peers who go to the same school as, they may not have the same access to certain things. So actually coming to the accessibility part and, you know, knowing certain things, have you ever hesitated to share your own distress with maybe your family, your friends, or were they not available when you needed them? Were you comfortable with sharing that, oh, mom, dad, right now school's really pressurizing me. So did you ever have like opportunity to share this problem with them, speak out about your mental health? Or in such cases also, do you think having like an AI powered chatbot could help in acting as a non judgmental friend, which could be available 24/7?
All right, that's such an interesting question. All right, I think yes. For the first part, yes. There are some times whereby, especially for the thing with mental health, especially in my community, right? Emphasis on my community because that's where I've really seen a lot of people go through these stuff. That's why I'm constantly saying my community. So excuse me for that. So then
So,
yeah, for a lot of guys, right, they find it so difficult to like share about their mental health, right? They find it very difficult to discuss topics like that. They feel it will make them look fragile, right? Or make them look weak, or in some sense, right? So they won't like want to discuss those type of issues around to other people. So I would say yes. I think I would. There were some instances whereby you would be uncomfortable, but I feel like as time went on, I got a community of people who I could easily go to, of friends, of my own parents, my own siblings, whom I would go to and say, "All right, this is what I'm dealing with," and I feel like for me personally, how I deal with it is that I have different people for different situations, right? If it's like the academic stress, perhaps I have a sibling for that, and then if it's like my just generally being stressed in any other way, I have friends that just help me in terms of that alone. Another thing that I started to do last year was that I started to go to the school guidance counselor. Right, at our school we have a teacher just for that. So I used to go to her on sometimes when I'm feeling academic burnout, so that we could just discuss what was going on. Perhaps sometimes you just need someone who you can just talk to. And then now comes the idea of AI. Personally, I'm not going to lie to you. I've never tried using AI.
okay. Suppose you have no one to go to, and suppose you're in university, you don't know anyone. So, like in a scenario like that, do you think AI would benefit you, or would you still choose physical interaction over that?
I would try AI. To be honest, I think it's because I haven't tried it.
Yeah.
So if I try it and I'll become regular to the whole idea. But I am open minded. I would love to actually go on a platform which you can just say anything. And I feel like I do get you when you said that some people don't have that community, and that's why AI becomes a tool to help people who just don't have, like, some people's parents are just perhaps not that open minded, right? So they don't yes, they don't get the academic stress. They think that you should just come home with the grades, right? I can also tell you at my school, there's so much pressure to say, okay, how many subjects are you doing? Are you doing the most subjects? You should do a lot of subjects, right? Because people want to give each other that pressure of saying, okay, I'm doing 12 subjects and I'm going to get, yes. And it also came to so many people's like surprise when I said I'm going to be doing 9 subjects.
Okay, so we were just talking about mental health in both of our communities. Do you believe, or how do you believe that culture factors can influence mental health perceptions and treatment within your community? And have you addressed these issues and challenges in your advocacy work? And if yes, how did you?
Yes, I think this is also one of the main cause of my whole Malachi's mail and everything is to try to change people's minds, people's perspectives. Creating a community of more open-minded people who don't just look at one side of the coin. Because I feel like we're constantly we are these puppets, right? Constantly dangling the perceptions of society that were created a long time ago, right? A long time ago, the people created their own rules, and those are still like the perceptions that we still have today. And I feel like it's now more, we should learn to be more diverse in the way we think, right? So yes, there are problems culturally that affect mental health because number one, people don't think it's a real problem. People don't think a person can have a mental illness unless they are just generally what they would call crazy, right? That's what they think. They think if a person commits suicide, it's because perhaps they have demons or they have spirits or something like that, right? They don't want to accept that people get depressed. People are sometimes unhappy, right? People do not want to accept that, and that's a very, very big problem in terms of the whole mental health idea. So one of the ways that my blog tries to attack these perceptions is writing about those topics. I feel like perhaps the change might be negligible and it might be very small, but the fact that the story is out there, that the idea is out there, and the post is out there, right? When people read it, perhaps they might not change their mind. My duty is not to change your mind. It's for you to realize there's other side, right? That's the duty. That's my duty to let you know that there's two sides of the coin, right? Even if you don't like change your mind and say, all right, I'm just going to focus on like this side. I'm not going to change my mind, right? But at least you know in the back of your mind that mental health is a thing, even if you're like adamant that it will never get you or anything. So I think it's just a way of campaigning, of a way of writing about these issues. There was an article that was written about you are the you that you need, things about self-aware, things about self-acceptance, the fear of embarrassment, mental health exercises, things that we can do to be more mentally strong. So that's just basically the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so our last and final question.
All right.
Do you believe that educating people about the importance of mental health through your blogs or our podcasts is the solution to combat taboos? If yes, perfect. But if no, what other methods do you think would, help maybe educate people, accept these two ways?
Well, I'm going to tell you guys what I think. The thing is, yes, I do believe that it's a way of how we can combat it, but it's not the only way. It's definitely not the only way. We can do so many other ways, but I feel like us doing podcasts, us doing blogs, like you said earlier on, that we have to start somewhere. And it's important for us to start somewhere and propel and elevate, right? And in terms of being more innovative, that's why we have this big idea that you guys have at Serenity of introducing this AI that can help with mental health. So those are other ways that people can combat problem. But I feel like blogging, podcasts, and interviews, and people constantly talking about it, it becomes an easier issue to talk about. Yeah. It becomes something that is a global crisis because people don't realize it's a global crisis. People think that it's the world hunger that's the global crisis, the crisis at Gaza, the problems of pollution, overpopulation, those type of issues. Those are the ones that right are the biggest problems. They don't realize that mental health is a big problem. So if we can talk about it more, if we can create platforms whereby it's constantly being talked about, people will realize that. Because like I said earlier on, again, I said that people don't see the other side. People just see just one side. So it's not necessarily about changing their minds. Of course, some minds will be changed, but then that's not like the main goal. The main goal is for them to realize that it is there, for them to be more aware, right? For them to be like, oh, okay, stress is not part of life. stress is a disease that can shorten your life, right? It's something that can cause you to die earlier than later, right? It's something that decreases your longevity, right? So people should realize that more. So if people are more aware, it will actually help us a lot more. That's why blogs, I'm a total fan of the posts people make on Instagram. That's why I'm constantly encouraging people, and I'm always telling people that it's good that everyone becomes an activist in some way, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's an environment activist, even if it's a mental health activist, even if it's any type of activism, right? It's very important that people engage in social issues and global crises, because if we can join forces and become this army, right, and everyone is constantly changing the world and solving these different problems, we can create a better world, not the best world, but a better world, because there's always going to be something that we need to change, right? There's always going to be something that we need to improve in the world. So I feel like if we can talk about it more, then yes, the blog platform Serenity, and all other organizations that are focusing on this issue and talking about it are doing an incredible job, because they're every single day, trust me, every single day, someone who visits your site, someone who visits your content, trust me, one person is going to just think about it, and that's a positive change. And it's good that people are thinking about it. It's good that it's at the back of their minds, even if it's not the main thing, but they're just thinking about it, right? And that's a good thing. We're getting people thinking. We're getting people understanding and more aware. So I think, yes,
I actually
but we
love
can do.
where you're coming from, and like, you know, the way you talk about this issue, and the fact that you said like you like doing, you know, you like the way people do podcasts or blogs, because the more people talk about an issue, the less destigmatized they'll get, like, you know, and the less taboo it'll have around it. And I feel like some people that should really start talking about this idea or like this topic is these idols and celebrities do some way influence the way we think and the way we do things, right? So I think these people can also help set an example and also like start talking about this issue more and more, and they can bring it out there so, you know, it's less taboo. Somewhere, don't you think these people who are like homeless or who are in poverty or who are in these wars, somewhere they're also facing a mental health issues? I mean, there is a reason why the UN, like the United Nations, has one of the SDGs, like the Sustainable Development Goals, as good health and well being, because they know how important it is for good health and well being. And they have like a lot of SDGs. They have, you know, zero hunger, they have no poverty, they have sustainable life, and like, you know, innovative cities, and like, I don't know all of them, but they talk about different goals. And the one thing I actually appreciate about the UN is, one is good health and well-being, because it is something we should be working towards. I think that should be goal for all of us, especially people like you, me, who work towards this. I think for us it should be a problem that we should be focused on, and it should be a goal for us to work on it and, like, you know, develop this goal into something bigger and better. So yeah. So before we end, I just wanted to ask you, how do you like, you know, interacting with someone from a very different community? How do you like, you know, talking about this? And do you think you got some key takeaways?
Really excited that I had this conversation. I think even from us interacting, you could really see my charisma and excitement for this whole conversation. This, I can say, is my first podcast, so I'm really happy about that.
Same.
So I'm really happy that, yes, I'm actually helping people understand and be more aware. So that's a great vote. In the right direction. It's a step in the right direction. It's a good thing. So yes, I'm really happy. And key takeaways that AI in mental health is an incredible and big idea. Mind blown, literally. I'm so interested in wanting to know more and what our Serenity is going to do. I also think that this is a stepping stone in the right direction again, and I also think that other platforms should also market the same idea of yours. I think more and more platforms are supposed to be available for that. I think if we have more platforms that also have the same ideas and are also catering for mental health, because like I said earlier, imagine just having this weapon against mental health that you can use at any time, anyway, that never rests, right? And I think that's really exciting. I think we have an exciting future to look forward to, a very bright future to look forward to in that criteria. I also realized that the marginalized area, right? The marginalized areas are a sector that we should also focus on. So yeah, I think me and my team are definitely going to be looking at what ways we can actually help those areas. And good luck on the platform. Yes, please tell me what goes on. And then we can also help this side marketing it, right? We can post it on Instagram, post it and on our social media platforms so that people are more aware of it and also use the platform when it's ready.
Thank you, first of all, thank you for your kind words. I love talking to you today. And yeah, so
same. It was really nice.
there you have it, guys. This was like another enlightening session on mental health. Who knew that stress, particularly from academic pressures, could exert such a significant influence on the mental health challenges encountered by teens today? Do you ever feel overwhelmed or simply too stressed to think straight? Why don't discuss it, seek help, and discover ways to manage. Visit Serenity for daily motivational content and stay tuned for more myth-busting episodes. Remember, your feelings are valid and assistance is always accessible. Let's continue the conversation because mental health matters.